Hello, I'm Dan Laustsen, and you're listening to Monday Morning Critic, and you should listen to it because it's great. It's fantastic.
My next guest has been nominated for an Academy Award for his majestic cinematography in Nightmare Alley, his second nomination. Please welcome Dan Laustsen. Dan, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you very much to be here. It's a pleasure.
Dan, I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, right? Laustsen, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. You have to make a short pause in the middle. It took me some years to figure that out.
Yes,
you're doing
yes.
well.
So I'm very excited for you. There's a bunch of things I want to touch upon because you've had such an amazing life. Reading about your early life, Dan. I know you went to the National Film School in Denmark, and a lot of that has to do with I believe your sister pushing you in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure, you're right about that.
But I almost feel like I always feel like you're naturally gifted, because I feel like and I was talking with a friend about this today. I feel like with cinematography, you're either gifted or you're not. I really don't believe I believe you can improve, but I don't think you're born. I think the only way I don't think you can learn it like acting. Like acting, I feel sometimes you can learn to be better at your craft. I feel like cinematography, either you have it or you don't. Maybe I'm over exaggerating that, but your sister kind of pushes you in the right direction. But at the time, you're not really looking to become a cinematographer. You're doing some fashion things. Right, so I'll let you tell that part of the story.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm educated as a fashion photographer, in the good old system, and, so many years ago. And when I was done with that education, I was like fed up with that because I want to go into a more documentary part of the world. And my dream was to be a documentary photographer for National Geographic. But, because I'm coming from a small town in Denmark, that was like a little bit out of the case.
Right.
And I was just in limbo there. I didn't know where to go because I didn't want to go into fashion or commercials. I wanted to do something else. And I was actually lost. And then my sister said, you have seen an advertising for the Danish Film School about they're looking for students for the cinematographer line. And she said, what about that? And I said, it's not my call. I don't want to be a cinematographer. I want to be a documentary photographer. And then, it's like all big sisters, take it easy. Why not try it? And, then I applied for an interview. I went out there to the film school to get an interview. And I didn't know anything about movies. I went to cinemas like everybody else does, saw a movie now and then every Saturday night or whatever. And I talked to the professors, and some guys there, and that made an interview. You have to make an application and send some pictures in. And so I did that. And I liked my pictures. So months later, I got a letter, welcome to the Danish Film School. And of course, that was a heart attack because I have no clue about what it was. I've never seen a film camera. I've never looked into the film camera. I have never dreamed about it. And I was 20 or 21. And my other students was like 5 or 6 years older and always been dreaming about being cinematographers. So I was coming in like the black sheep. And for the first half year, 3/4 of a year, it was definitely a challenge because I didn't know absolutely nothing about it.
So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and then of course, I'm a fighter. So, if I don't know anything, I want to learn it. And it was really fantastic. I think the film school is a very nice way to learn to be a cinematographer or director or whatever, because you're together with your friends. Of course, you don't know them in the beginning, but they're going to be your friends. Everybody's learning of each other, and you're not afraid of doing small mistakes or big mistakes because it's a school, so your mind is very open.
Right.
So for me, it was like what I learned about cinematographers in the beginning was from the Danish Film School. There's no doubt about that. And maybe I have it in my genes. I have no idea about that. But, but I didn't dream about that from the beginning. It was not something I want to do.
No, you are one of the very few people that were born to do what he does. I mean, and you are so gifted at it. Dan, are there ever moments, because you mentioned, you come from a fashion background, a bit of that. Is there ever, how do you overcome people that are 5, 6 years older than you that perhaps know what they've wanted to do their entire lives? When do you, I imagine there's some doubt there for you, at least at the beginning. How do you conquer that? How do you get over that obstacle?
No, as I said, first time I look into the film camera, I've never seen it before. I didn't know more or less. I knew you having to look into the lens. I knew you have to look somewhere else.
Right.
But as again, I'm a fighter, and I really like, it's a challenge to learn some more new stuff. And when you're in the film school, it's like there's not a competition in the beginning, it's just like learn. And that's,
right.
I think that's a great thing about education. I think it's like a thing that a lot of people should take the challenge to do, because it is really nice when you're working together with people, and you don't need to be the cleverest guy in the room, you have to learn about other people's. And I think I've taken that with me to the movie making, because I think it's important, you're learning as you go, and you have to push yourself. I think that's what I did. I pushed myself a lot, I'm not saying I want to be the best, but I want to be like enjoying what I'm doing. And I think I've been doing that my whole life.
Yeah. And is there a moment, I mean, you always sound like somebody who never settles. You always push yourself to that next level. When do you really buy into the fact that, you know what, you are meant to do this? You feel confident at film school. Is there a moment where it really clicks with you that you belong there, that you definitely, and I know it's not really a competitive thing, it's more of a collaborative thing, but when do you figure it out for yourself, Dan, that you really are meant to do this?
No, I think that came slowly, but for sure at the film school, because, it's so much fun to be a cinematographer. It's a lot of pressure, but it's so much fun because you're doing a movie together with a lot of other people. And that's what I like. I like the teamwork. I don't like to be alone like a painter. It's like a cinematographer, you're really a team player, and you have to support the director. You have to support the movie. And a lot of people are helping you to do that. And I think that's a fantastic, and of course a challenge. But coming back to, I feel pretty fast at the film school, this was something I really like to do. I was like, I was fascinating about the whole process to make movies and tell stories with the camera and lighting. And of course, my lighting background was coming from my fashion education. So I feel pretty fast I was on the right shelf.
So yeah, your fashion background is huge as far as playing a part, because the lighting, I mean, we'll get into your lighting and your ability with that for those listening, but it's amazing to be very blunt with you, Dan.
Oh, thanks. But I don't think the fashion, it was just like a start, because I was very young. I never worked as a fashion photography. I was educated, and of course you're working a little bit like as the youngest guy at the studio. But of course I learned a lot of lighting and the whole discipline about working, because I think that's another thing in the film business. You have to be super disciplined, because it's a machine that has to move fast forward. It's not like, oh, let me think about it for 2 hours. It's not the movies I'm doing, the movies I'm doing, even it's the nice movie with Guillermo or whoever I'm working together with. You have to know where you want to go.
Yeah, and you mentioned, and I like how you said this. I have many composers on the show too. I've had many cinematographers. It's such an interesting style difference, right? Because you mentioned that people, that cinematographers, it's a group effort. You're spending a lot of time around people, where composers, it's the opposite. They spend a lot of time alone. It's such an interesting contrast of styles, Dan.
Yeah, no, as a cinematographer, you're never alone. You cannot do it alone. Of course, you can make a documentary, but the movies I'm doing right now, you are together with the director. You have to help and support and try to tell the story together with the director, whatever way you want to do it. And then, of course, you have the whole crew, the whole technical crew. And without those guys, you cannot do it. And I think that teamwork is, for me, great. I really like it. And I still like it. I've done that for some years now.
Yeah, essential.
And you just have to find you have to find the right people. And most of the time I'm traveling alone. I'm not bringing people from one show to another. I'm doing that with my focus puller now, Doc Lavender. But normally, when I'm shooting here, I don't know anybody in the beginning, and then I'm putting a crew together. And that's the same when I'm shooting in Toronto or whatever I'm shooting. I'm coming in alone and finding good people to help me, and I think it's great.
Yeah, for sure.
I know some people are traveling around with a whole bunch of people, but I don't do that.
Right. And I'm going to bounce around a little bit here. One of the things I've been dying to ask you about is, You know, Dan, and I don't know if you have a comment on this, but I figured I'd throw it at you anyway. There's many filmmakers are talking about, comic book movies. It's the new trend to television shows. Some people are, they feel like they're cookie cutter movies. They're this, they're that. What's your take on the comic book movie boom or the Star Wars boom where people are, because I feel some directors don't like it. What's your take on that, Dan?
No, I think, it's some of those movies look fantastic. I was a big Star Wars fan when I was, I still like Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like to shoot one. Maybe I have never get the offer, so it doesn't matter. But I think those movies, of course, is like big studio movies, and you're a little bit more in the studios. There's a lot of rules you cannot break. But I'm not sure about that. Everybody wants to do something that's fantastic, and that's what I like about those big movies, because everybody wants to push the limit again. That's the same when we're doing John Wick 2 or 3 or 4. We still want to push. You have to be better than number 3 or 2.
Yeah.
And of course, again, that's coming from the director and from the studio that wants to make it better and better, because you have to overdo yourself.
Yeah. And you mentioned John Wick, and your filmography is quite amazing. Nightmare Alley, which we're going to talk about, Shape of Water, also John Wick Chapter 2, John Wick Chapter 3. Dan, I notice how eclectic your filmography is, right? You're not doing this like Brotherhood of the Wolf, an absolutely classic movie.
Yeah.
And another one that you don't get enough credit for, Silent Hill, looks fabulous. That is a fabulous looking movie. That's
Thank
gorgeous.
you. And Crimson Peak.
Yes, I was thinking about,
Crimson Peak with Guillermo Del Toro just was disappearing, and that's, for my money, it's a really, really nice movie. I really liked it, but nobody, didn't get any recognition, and of course that's a shame. And I just finished John Wick 4 in Europe last year.
Nice.
Very
exciting.
Yeah. So for me, it's important to work together with people. I'm having a nice communication with. It's just like, for me, it's the man or the girl or the woman. It's the most important thing as director, because you're going to be married with those people for like 3 or 4, 6 or 7 months. And I'm on the show to support the director, to make the movie together with the director as much as I can do. And, if you're not in the same, if you don't want to do the same, if you don't want to tell the story the same way, it's getting very difficult. So, you want to do a movie with the people, you have the same kind of like, you're thinking the same way about telling a story. You want to be not discussing light every minute, and camera movement. You want to be in the kind of the same ball game.
Yeah, and it's like your film school, Dan, right? You kind of have to be you guys have to be on the same page together. It's not about, this is my way, this is your way. It should be, this is our way, right?
I'm 100% agree. It's our way.
Yeah.
The movie, as I said before, it is a teamwork, and and I think it's important to remember that all the time. You're not alone. You need all the support for people you can get, and again, I'm here for the director and for the movie, and I think it's and that's when you're working together close with the production designer, the wardrobe, and you have fantastic gaffers and key grips and camera operators. It's really it's a big teamwork. And again, for me, I think the story is very important, but the guy that I'm working together with, or the woman, it's the most important.
Yeah, clearly. And, in a movie like A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, like I love the way that movie looks. I love the movie in general, but like, I was just reading comments, and people just like, with many of your movies, looks beautiful, bounces off the screen. Like, it's always complimentary of your abilities. And I'm gonna ask you this question, and I don't mean it to come across as egotistical, but Dan, can a movie come across not so great, whether a producer comes in last minute and cuts something or somebody tinkers with it? Can a movie come across as maybe not as successful as they hoped, but the cinematography is just phenomenal? I mean, not only to you, but other people as well. Like, I feel like sometimes great cinematography can get lost in a movie that's maybe not so well received.
Yeah, I think the problem is, again, is the cinematographer have to support the story. It's
Right.
not like and I think that's the biggest challenge for a cinematographer. You have to support the story. You cannot like make your own movie. You have to support the way the movie wants to get shot, the way the actors is floating around, if you're doing a movie where everything is like very loose, you cannot do a very precise lighting. But on the other hand, if you want to use a very specific lighting, you have to do the blocking very precise together with the director. It's always changing a little bit. And I think that's I don't have, maybe I have a little bit of a style, but I try to change that to the story. I like the single source lighting. I like to win deep shadows in the shadow sides, and I like to move the camera as much as we can do. But it's not me. It's like me and the director. It's not my, because if the director doesn't like what you're doing, there's two ways: you get fired, or they're cutting the stuff out. Yeah. And I'm never getting fired yet. So and I think again, you have to talk about the style before you're starting. You have to be on the same ball game. And so, of course, you can shoot a movie wrong. You can get too much attention as a cinematographer because it's stealing the story.
Right.
And of course, I think that's the worst you can do as a cinematographer. You're doing your own movie, and that's of course wrong. But when you have a very close relationship with the director, you're talking about that. And there's only one captain on the show, that's a director, because I'm not going to be in the editing room. If we're doing something he or she doesn't like, they're just going to cut it out. Right. But if you're doing something you agree about, hopefully it's going to stay in the movie. And I've been on shows where the studio is changing the grading later on, the DI, and of course that's painful. We're lifting everything up because it was too dark for those guys' point of view, and of course that's not fun.
Yeah, and
because as soon as you're into the DI, as soon as you're out of the DI, you don't have, you don't have any power anymore, and it should not be about power. It should be about taste and about the movie.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned John Wick, it's one of the best franchises, certainly action franchises I've seen in recent memory. So they're so fabulous to watch these movies. They're so beautiful. Yeah, they're so well shot. They're so well acted. It's like your team effort you've been talking about. Are you able to enjoy it as a filmmaker? Are you ever or are you just too busy about the scene cut? Like, are you able to enjoy what you're filming, enjoy what you're seeing? Or is it kind of all business? Or can you have a combination of both?
No, I enjoy every day. Of course, some days that's more painful than others. Of course, when you're shooting a movie and you're like, it's pouring rain and you've been there for 16 hours, and of course it's like some of those days it's like, oh, what do I do here? But normally, for me, it's like, because I really love what I'm doing. So for me, it's like enjoyable, every day. Because if you don't like what you're doing, it's too tough, I think. That is like you're making a movie, you're making hopefully a piece of art, and that's of course is super fantastic, and especially when people like what you're doing and you like yourself. For me, it's like if I'm doing something I don't like, I'm just getting physical sick. Just like it's like if I cannot control it, and I'm doing something I don't like, and you do that now and then, of course you make a mistake, and you're getting the things are changing, and you have a cherry picker that cannot go up and down or whatever, and then you just have to shoot. So that's another thing. You have to be prepared for everything as a cinematographer, because maybe not if you're doing huge movies, but the movie I'm doing is like, if you have a breakdown and it's not like the main light or whatever, you still have to go, still have to move or shoot.
Right.
So you have to always have a plan B. And I think that's a challenge too. But no, I enjoy very much. I enjoy every minute. Of course, there's some, as I said, if long hours and crazy hours, but I love what I'm doing. I love to be a part of movie making. I love to be together with the guys and the girls and the crew and the director. It's just, and then I'm missing my kids, of course, and my wife all the time, but that's another thing.
No, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
It's another thing, but I'm just saying the process about movie making, for me, it's like, it's just fantastic, because you're doing something you really like, and you feel you're doing right as right as you can. Of course, you'd have to push yourself still all the time, I think.
Yeah. So Dan, I do want to talk about your nomination here very quickly. So a couple of years back, I had Nick Vallelonga on the podcast. He wrote Green Book, the screenplay. I told him he was going to win, and he ended up winning. So I believe that you being here today is a very good omen for what lies ahead in a few months. So you're nominated.
I'm going to whatever.
So I know you don't like talking about yourself. I get it. You're a very team-oriented guy. But you have two very wonderful nominations, one in 2018 and one in this year. Some really great cinematographers nominated in 2018. You were going against Roger Deakins in Blade Runner in 18 for the absolutely beautiful The Shape of Water. Is that when you look at the other work of the other cinematographers? I mean, it's not like one person doesn't belong. These are all beautiful movies. Like they're just
fantastic, and you're fantastic cinematographers, both in what is it, 17 and now.
Yes.
Yep. I'm so proud to be a part of that group. And again, I think for my personal thing is getting nominated is fantastic because that's your colleagues, your friends and your colleagues that are saying this is actually pretty good. And so I think the nomination is a big, big honor. You're part of a very, very good group of people, good group of cinematographers. And for me, it's a super honor to be a part of that. I'm very proud and happy.
Yeah, and it was Dunkirk that year. Yeah, it was 2017. It was the 2018 Academy Awards, and then this year, again, you find yourself in a position going up against some really, really wonderful cinematographers, really great movies. So, what is your mindset? It is an honor. I get that. And if you win, I imagine it's wonderful to be in that position. But when you look at it, and these are some really beautifully shot movies. What's your mindset? I mean, and I hear what you're saying, and I know you're completely a team-oriented person, but I don't know. When I look at these, I've seen all these movies; they're all fantastic. I don't know if I'm being neutral here, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I think Nightmare Alley is the most beautifully shot movie, and I'm forcing you to accept this compliment that it's the most beautifully shot movie that I've seen this year. I'm being very honest with you. I'm not saying this because you're in my show right now.
Thank you.
It is the most beautifully shot movie I've seen this year, and maybe in quite some time, Dan.
Say it again, the last thing.
I said maybe in not only this year, but maybe in quite some time.
Okay.
Beautiful. I rewatched it again last night. Honestly, your style reminds me very much of. I'm a big, and I bring this up with cinematographers. This movie a lot. Road to Perdition a lot because I think it's one of the most.
Oh, that's an honor to be fantastic guy.
Yeah, Conrad Hall. So
I just Conrad Hall, not bad at all.
No, I love your style. I love, and again, you're very eclectic with your movie choices, but I just love your style. It grasps, like I could shut the volume off and I wouldn't because there's great acting, but to just enjoy it from a art point of view. Yeah.
But it's coming back again, as I said before, it's coming back to the director, the reason I think Shape of Water, Crimson Peak, a lot of people have not seen that, but they should see it because I think it's an amazing movie.
It's available on Netflix right now for those listening. Crimson Peak is available right now on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And the Nightmare Alley. Guillermo is an amazing director. He's a master in my world. He's a master because he knows where he wants to go, and he's just the way he's challenged himself and myself for that. What we're doing and what he's doing is like I think he's making a ballet with the camera, the actor, the lighting, everything is blending in so well. And you can see it's a master that made this movie. And of course, I'm very, very proud to be a part of that. But, it is coming from him. I'm not saying, without him, it will not be like that. There's no doubt about that. He is a master. And the way he's so precise and so focused about everything, like the smallest detail and the lighting and the costumes and the production design. He's a part of everything. And as I said earlier, that is a challenge to work together with a guy that have so much knowledge about movie making. And for me, it's like, it's fantastic. I'm very proud about it.
Yeah, and
nominations are not nominations. I just think that movie, it is really, really, really fun to do it. And he said, I'm doing it because I feel I'm making a piece of art when I'm working together with him. He's a master. You guys are
you mentioned team. You guys are a fantastic team. And I can't tell you how many people, even before they talk about the story, Dan, and the great movie that this is, again, it's like nothing I've ever seen. The way it's shot, people, you read comments for the trailer, and people are just through the roof of the way it's shot. So I have a quick question. I have a couple of questions left for you. Thank you so much for all this time, Dan.
No, for sure.
You mentioned 6 movies that influenced your cinematography. For those listening, they're Citizen Kane, I Am Cuba, Apocalypse Now, The Seventh Seal, The Lighthouse, and Seven. Absolute iconic movies.
What was the second one?
You said I Am Cuba. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So those are the 6 that you said. So are there any other movies you could add to that list? Because I'm going to tell you what. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I'm going to say, you know what I love about, because the Lighthouse and Seven are relatively recent releases, right? Especially The Lighthouse. And the fact that you are bringing up movies that influence you that come out later, like Lighthouse within the last 3 or 4 years. Seven is relatively recent. But the fact that you have recent movies tells me that you're always learning. It tells me that you're always paying attention. I don't know. Some people get complacent in their craft. They sit back, whatever that is. You don't strike me that way. You strike me as somebody that's always learning, Dan.
That's what I tried to say in the beginning. I think you have to learn your whole life. You have to push yourself. You don't be afraid of the small, because I think you have to make mistakes, not too big so you're getting into troubles, but you have to, a lot of times when I'm drawing back in the car, you say, oh, why didn't I do that? Or, I think if you're pushing yourself and you're not putting yourself up on a big table and saying, I'm the best, I know everything, because I just think it's important not to be the cleverest guy in the room. You have to listen to people around you. I'm not saying it's a big discussion about, because it's not like that. I'm discussing the light with Guillermo and nobody else. Of course, my gaffer and my key grips and everybody else is helping. We have discussions, but again, the director is, I'm working for him, or he, not right now. So this one is a guy, Guillermo Del Toro.
Yeah, right.
So, no, I just like, for example, The Lighthouse, they're pushing themselves so far out, like, where's it coming from? It's crazy and it's fantastic and I love it. I think it was those guys did an amazing movie. Yes. And Seven, I didn't have a clue about. One of my buddies said, let's go in and see Seven. I didn't know what it was. And we went to the cinema and it was sitting like blowing away of, like, it was scary, like, I don't know. And it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of movies, this is just 5 movies. But, again, Gunnar Fischer with Seven Seals, Bergman's first cinematographer.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, he's a true artist. What he did those days was amazing. Of course, it's the same with Citizen Kane. It is, but those guys did in the old days with, like, huge cameras, very slow film, and they couldn't sit down and watch YouTube. They have everything. There was like, everything was in the imagination.
Right.
And I think that is so amazing. And if you're looking at Apocalypse Now, of course, Dorado is a true master too, and Coppola. No visual effects, no nothing, and you just have to shoot it. And those days, you look into the viewfinder, and you said, was it good? And it was good. It's not like playback and video and CGI and everything. It's just amazing what you can do those days, So, and there's a lot of other movies, of course, I really, really love. But it was like, I like those 6 movies a lot.
Yeah, and I want to end the movie.
And I'm Cuba, look about Cuba, I'm sure they didn't show dailies for months, but it was just like, what imagination, shooting everything, super wide angle, infrared film.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, I think.
Yeah, beautiful movies. And, I wanted to end the interview talking about your relationship with Guillermo Del Toro. I have to say, your first meeting, though, it almost was like he didn't know what to think of you, right? Because the way you guys came together, it was kind of, if I'm reading this correctly, it was kind of, I don't want to say forced, but it was,
It was not forced, we did it. I did my first American movie called Night Watch.
Yeah.
And Weinstein Brothers was the studio producing them.
Yeah.
And Guillermo should do his first American movie called Mimic.
Yeah.
And Guillermo, I was super busy because of my first show, of course, and I was nervous and all that kind of stuff. And then I met Guillermo, and it was just like, it was a little bit odd in the beginning. I think the first meeting we had was like, what is this? And then the second one was like, and that was again, let's do it again. And then we met second time, and it was great. And then we did Mimic, and of course, Mimic was a challenge for everybody because the studio was really rough, with him. And it was a pretty dark movie, so I was afraid to get fired every day because, or maybe it was like I was going over the top. But, we shot it, and I was operating a camera myself, and it was fantastic. That was like the start of a long relationship. So, he's a fantastic director and a really good friend, and a good friend as well. So it's really nice.
And I was watching The Shape of Water as well, one of my all-time favorite movies. And there was in the bonuses there was a master class, and it was just the way he talks about his crew, the way he just, and from other interviews, the fondness he has for you, Dan, the respect he has for you. I mean, he's called you one of the top 5 living cinematographers. I mean, Grant, I know you don't like to be overwhelmed, but I'm going to say, for him to say it, this man is one of the best storytellers ever, and for him to say that, and you guys make such a wonderful team. You guys have done 4 projects together. Four. My God, you mentioned Mimic and then Crimson, and then we talk about the 2 we mentioned recently. But I have to say, it's just to see you guys. The theme of this interview would be team effort, and boy, you guys make for one hell of a team, Dan.
Yeah, no, thank you. But again, I'm so happy about working together with him because he's putting everything together the right way. And that's, of course, as a cinematographer, it's like a challenge and a pleasure to do that because it's not, it's not like you're sitting and walking in the park. We want to push ourselves all the time because we want to try to do some setups and some lighting. It's not easy to do this very movement camera and coming into a big close-up of Cate Blanchett with the right lighting on, but it's, that's his vision, and we try to do that together, and everybody, the crew is helping and supporting and doing it. So it is fantastic. But the way he's so precise about all small details, it's amazing, and he's, when we're talking about Mimic, he can remember everything, and I don't remember even the movie anymore. But he's like, he just remember everything. He's fantastic. I'm big fan, of a lot of respect.
Yeah, and when I interview cinematographers, I feel like I'm always learning, which I love. Even watching Crimson Peak recently, I think I watched it over the weekend. Just the light coming out of the window, I'm learning more about lighting. I'm learning about how you guys use it. I mean, and once I wrap my head around it, it's just so amazing. The lighting in Nightmare Alley. By the way, I saw it opening weekend. Absolutely great movie. Oh. Huge. Yeah. So I have to say, it's just the lighting in this movie. You talk about Cate Blanchett. There's so many scenes where the lighting is just so beautiful. And I mean, I do lack the verbiage to accurately describe your eclectic style, but Dan, you're just such a wonderful talent, and I'm just blown away by your work.
I'm happy you like what I'm doing, and I hope you're right about the future.
Yeah, and I have to say this: I know who I'm going to be pulling for on the Academy Awards tonight, and I know it's going to happen whether you believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, you're a good man, Dan, and thank you so much for.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure,
Dan. I wish you luck, and I'll be a fan and I can't wait for. Do you know when John Wick drops?
No, nobody knows that. No, I don't know. It must be next year. It must. Yeah, I don't know actually. It must be next year.
And Color Purple. Do you have any idea for that?
It must be the same next year because we start shooting a month from now, and then it's going to be midsummer. I don't think they can get done with that before Christmas. So it must be next year as well.
Got you.
But Dan, I'm just a cinematographer. I don't know.
Oh, please don't. I'll never buy that. But thank you. Seriously, I'm a big movie guy, and just the work you've done, and it's not just a load of like a line or anything. You've affected so many lives with what you do, and I know it should mean a lot to you, and I know it does. But I know tons of people who just love your work, and
thank you so much. But people should just go for it, and because right now you can just do a lot of things about your iPhone. You can learn how to frame. You can learn a lot of stuff. When I was starting, it was like 35, very, very heavy and very expensive, And I think that's a good thing about the new technology. You can really learn from just start and do it.
Yeah.